Questions that really grabbed you?
I think it's important to recognize that integration indeed takes place around problems more than around knowledge. And that's a very good point to see how we mobilize knowledge from the policy field. So this is really important. And if social scientists could help us as policymakers to get more complex policy tools. But why don't we have them now? Because I think that we are playing around with imaginaries, such as, for example, that some policy tools are linked with war, for example, environment or war feelings that we do not want to touch anymore for sure, or things. We are quite limited in the choice of our policy tool. This is what I mean. And I think social science can help us widen our imaginaries about how more complex policy tools, and this is not integrated knowledge, it's building more complex policy tools.
But when you say we should organize around, or there may be more fruit to pick by organizing around specific problems, is there one particular area that is, you feel very strongly about?
Well, indeed, tackling the water issue or poverty, also focusing on today's problem, not necessarily. Why is poverty in a longer time period more important and more mobilizing, it appears to be, than tackling today's problem? This is sometimes I think that the shortest way to long-term sustainability is to care more about short-term sustainability.
Okay, Carlo?
Well, I would like to respond to a sentiment which was expressed in many interventions. I think you put it very clearly in the first intervention, there is a moral issue here, and somehow we have a hard time dealing with it with intellectual honesty. And then usually this is framed in terms of moral versus power, and that's clearly an important question. But what I would like to share is that there is a more modern question, which is the relationship between morals and markets. There has been a very famous essay by Milton Friedman that the social responsibility of entrepreneurs is to make profits. It was a very provocative title, but it's an important issue. As we are quoting John Chelnouveau all the time, I had the pleasure to write a piece with him on Stern's Review and Adam's Fallacy precisely about this issue, how the interplay of morals and markets matters for climate change. With Chu Pei-jun, who is sitting there, I'm co-chairing this integrated risk governance project, which again, you manage risk. Well, very nice. There is a moral issue. Who is going to die? How is this?
We all are going to die.
Who is going to die in this flood? Who is going to die in this earthquake? There is the triage. And risk managers do this. And we have a hard time talking about it. And it's a moral issue. And we live in a world where markets do a large part of the triage. And I want to defend markets, not to attack them. But we need to better deal with those markets. I would invite all of you to go to the IIG stand out there. There's an online electronic market where you can place your bets on climate change relevant possibilities. And I think it's a good way to start reflecting about the world we live in. We live in a world that's driven by bets placed on markets. I'm not going now to go much further than that, but I think that if we accept that there is a moral issue here, if we accept that this is related to the way markets work, and we do not know how to solve this, then we have a research problem around which we can integrate quite a bit of knowledge and of ignorance.
Fascinating, fascinating. Jim?
On the moral issue, there are two words that I haven't heard today, and they're greed and trust. We're a greedy species, and we don't trust each other. Now, on the question about the power structure, here's a challenge for the social science community, because indeed that is a really important one. The problem is that social scientists can ascribe attribution. Physical scientists, we don't do that. Natural scientists, we don't do that, but social scientists do, and that then threatens the power structure. On the point about what we know, and I do believe we know some things, but it's possibly, well, I'm not going to go down that pathway because I think that you already covered it. But anyway, on the cost of interdisciplinary science, I think that's a really important one. It costs. It costs in our time, it costs in our reputation, it costs in that you need to have people that are science managers that wake up every morning in our institutions, and every single morning their job is to help others succeed. They're called program managers, science managers. So are our institutions equipped for that? I think that the urgency, we talked about the urgency, it requires questioning our institutional construct. I think that that's why we're being asked to do things way faster than we've ever done in the history of doing science, way faster, and we're being, if that's not enough, we're being asked to do it differently. So not only are we supposed to do things altogether differently, but we're supposed to do it way faster. So, and then one last point on the solutions point that Paul raised. I think that in order for something to get beyond sort of the applied science to an actual solution, we do need to incorporate and as a community learn how to incorporate experiential knowledge and indigenous knowledge. Because the people who are going to do the solutions aren't us. We do our own solutions in our own households, but the policy and the resource management solutions, those come from people who know stuff. They know things. And if they're going to actually apply some knowledge, they're going to have to own that solution option.
Okay, thank you very much. Geno?
Just a short footnote on the knowledge question, how much do we know? It doesn't matter how much we know, it only matters how much we know more than the others. And that's quite a bit.
Sorry, which others?
The rest of the non-social scientists, the decision makers, the broad society, how much do we have to contribute to them? It doesn't matter whether we have 90% of the truth or 15.4. It doesn't matter. It matters only whether we have knowledge that they don't have and that we can contribute it to them, and we are improving on that. But we'll never get to the truth anyway, so that is not a question for me. Another remark on, well, it's an economic principle that's called comparative advantage. For those.
That you can cut down truth in percentage points? I can't.
No, that's why I said we cannot. It doesn't matter to ask ourselves how many % of knowledge have we reached. It's irrelevant. There was some mentioning about social scientists getting engaged in the policy process. Now this is very, very, very delicate and very dangerous. If you do consulting, if you want to do good social sciences, applied solution-oriented social sciences, you're not coming up with the right solution. You're coming up with options that society can choose. So if you're start engaging in something and you're promoting one solution, you're in the danger that you're not considered as a balanced scientist anymore. And once you're not considered a balanced scientist, you have difficulties convincing society. So I would be very, very careful to follow that path.
Juemai, have you got any brief comments?
Yes, I would like to come back to this, again, knowledge question, and then the need for a problem-oriented, more applied sort of approach to our research. I think we do know something, but maybe not enough, because from my own experience, I've been visiting, those cities in Asia a lot and talking to the policymakers, talking to the mayors. And then more than once, several times, I have been really pointed back to the need of a good basic science that can provide to them so that they can, guide their practice. There were several occasions, it was quite actually embarrassing. We've been there trying to engage with them, and then they were asking us, you guys are scientists. What do you know about this particular, phenomenon in the city? And then what can you, provide us in terms of, knowledge, and then in terms of answer? What can we do today, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow? I just don't know. And I said, I don't know either, That's the situation, I think. We don't really know enough what is need to be known. So, and I think it was quite interesting that the need for this basic science came from the practitioners rather than from our own, scientific community. And I think that points to the, importance of the issue, actually.
Absolutely fascinating. Nicole, you wanted to come back on that point? We don't know enough?